So imagine your favorite musical artist, right?
Okay.
They announce this highly anticipated new album, and they give you a title, they tease a lead single, and they map out a really clear release schedule.
You know exactly what to expect.
Exactly. But now, imagine that halfway through the rollout, they completely scrap the single.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they shatter the album's concept into multiple, like, fragmented, extended plays. They hide different track names on the physical CD just to mess with you. And then, boom.
Boom.
They drop a 74-minute behemoth of completely new material instead.
Which is, I mean, it is the absolute antithesis of how the modern music industry operates.
Right.
The traditional, sterilized runway of dropping a single on a Friday and walking the audience straight into an album release is just completely destroyed here.
Welcome to the world of Insane Clown Posse's 2021 album, Yum Yum Bedlam.
It is a wild ride.
It really is. We are using its Wikipedia article as our map today for this deep dive. And our mission is to take a really comprehensive look into this deeply layered and honestly often misunderstood release.
Totally misunderstood.
Because whether you are wildly familiar with the horrorcore hip-hop scene or maybe you only know this group from pop culture memes.
Right, the memes.
Yeah, but if you're just eager to learn about complex musical world building, we are going to explore how underground phenomenons actually operate for you today.
And to really understand what we are looking at, we have to establish the sheer scale of the project right off the bat.
Let's do it.
So Yum Yum Bedlam is a 74-minute rap rock and horrorcore journey. It was released on October 31st, 2021. Halloween, exactly, on Psychopathic Records. But anyone looking at this as just some spooky Halloween novelty record is missing the entire architectural foundation.
They're missing the big picture.
Completely. This album is a critical, load-bearing piece of an ongoing, decades-long artistic saga.
So before we can even look at the music itself, we have to understand the universe that this album lives inside.
We really do.
Because for someone looking from the outside in, the terminology surrounding Insane Clown Posse can sound like a completely foreign language.
Oh, absolutely. It's dense.
Our source notes that this is their 16th studio album, but it immediately clarifies that it is the fifth, and I'm quoting here, the fifth Joker card in the second deck of their Dark Carnival saga.
Right.
So if I'm a newcomer to this deep dive, what does that actually mean? Like, does the Dark Carnival a literal place they rap about, or is it some kind of spiritual concept?
It is entirely spiritual,
Right.
and it functions as the central mythology of their entire career.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, the Dark Carnival is essentially this overarching, almost purgatory-like concept where souls are judged for their earthly sins.
Oh, I see.
And the Joker cards, they aren't literal playing cards. They are specific entities like mythological characters that represent different forms of judgment or morality.
That is way deeper than I expected.
I know, right? So when the source says this is the fifth Joker card of the second deck, it means we are in the fifth chapter of the second major era of this massive moral mythology.
Okay, so it's serialized.
Very much so. Chronologically, this specific entity, Yum Yum, serves as the bridge connecting their 2019 album Fearless Fred Fury to their planned 2025 release, The Knot.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because demanding this level of investment from an audience is incredibly rare in modern music.
It really is.
You almost have to compare their Dark Carnival to the structure of a sprawling fantasy book series.
Or a massive cinematic universe.
Exactly. It's like trying to understand, an Avengers movie without seeing the previous 10 films.
Yeah, the artists are basically demanding that their fans do the homework.
They really are. You aren't just passively listening to a collection of songs they wrote that year. You are actively participating in this meticulously numbered, card-based lore.
And what's fascinating here is how Yum Yum Bedlam represents a massive evolutionary risk within that established lore.
Nice.
Well, if you look at the reception section of our source material, you'll find a groundbreaking milestone for the group. For the first time in their history, and their history spans back to the early 1990s,
Right.
this Joker's card release is centered entirely around a female entity.
Wait, really the first time since the 90s?
It's the very first time.
That is a massive narrative pivot. Because we are talking about horrorcore, right?
Yeah.
A subgenre of hip-hop that leans heavily into aggressive, dark, violent imagery. And that has historically been an intensely male-dominated space.
Oh, completely male-dominated.
So introducing a female entity as the core focus of the album, that completely shifts the thematic landscape.
It does. It forces the mythology to explore different psychological avenues than they ever have in the past.
Right, it requires an entirely different approach to storytelling.
Exactly. And because this album represented such a massive lore event, the introduction of this new female entity, Yum Yum Flower, the group, constructed an expansive, highly unusual rollout strategy to build anticipation.
Which brings us back to the start of our deep dive.
Yes. This is where the title of the album starts to mirror reality.
The actual bedlam of the release.
The bedlam, exactly.
The source traces this journey, and it is genuinely wild to see how much it shifted. The initial spark happened like over a year before the album came out.
Right, October 2020.
Yep, October 5th, 2020. During a live stream event called the House Party Peep Show.
Gotta love the names.
Oh, the names are great. So Violent J, Shaggy 2 Dope, and Jumpsteady, who are the core architects of the label, they revealed the album's name.
And they also previewed what was supposed to be the lead track.
Yeah, a song called Ding Ding Doll.
Which is a pretty standard industry move up to that point.
Very standard.
You announce the title, you tease the sound.
But then they announce the release strategy, and it is radically fragmented. They tell the fans they aren't just going to drop the album.
Right, that would be too simple.
Way too simple. Instead, they plan to release 3 separate extended play albums, EPs, each containing 6 to 7 songs. And the concept was that once all 3 EPs were out in the world, they would combine them into a single, massive, full-length album titled The Seeds of Yum Yum.
So they essentially promised a modular album.
The modular album. Yeah.
You drip feed the audience the pieces over time, allowing the community to digest the lore in smaller chunks, and then you assemble the final puzzle at the very end.
And they actually started executing it, too.
Did they?
Yeah. On February 17th, 2021, which is a date the community celebrates as Juggalo Day, by the way.
Nice.
They dropped the first of these EPs, called Yum Yum's Lure, and included that preview track, Ding Ding Doll.
Okay, so the plan is in motion.
It's in motion.
Yeah.
But then the entire modular plan is violently thrown out the window.
Wow.
Ding Ding Doll is marooned on that EP and left entirely off the main project.
Wait, they just abandoned the lead single?
Completely abandoned it. Instead, the full-length album Yum Yum Bedlam drops on Halloween, consisting exclusively of all new material.
So none of those planned seeds make up the album?
None of them. And just to complicate things further, the physical CD booklet for the album promises 3 more creatively named EPs for 2022.
Oh my goodness. What were they called?
Get ready for this. Wicked Vic the Weed.
Okay.
Pug Ugly the Stink Bud.
Yep.
And Woe the Weeping Weirdo.
Wow. It creates a literal labyrinth of content.
A total labyrinth.
The listener is constantly navigating abandoned ideas, exclusive EP tracks, and, future promises.
And I have to say this from a pure business standpoint, I have to argue that this is commercial suicide.
I can see why you'd say that.
You are hiding the ball from the people trying to give you money. I mean, constantly changing plans, abandoning your lead title track, and shuffling songs across multiple mysteriously named EPs.
Yeah.
That seems perfectly designed to confuse and alienate a consumer. Why would any artist actively sabotage their own marketing runway like this?
Well, if they were operating within the traditional music industry, you'd be absolutely right. But Psychopathic Records and the Juggalo fan base function as a completely closed, self-sustaining economy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the traditional rules of consumer marketing literally do not apply to them. In a mythology built around a dark carnival, predictability is boring.
So the chaos is intentional.
Chaos isn't a bug. Chaos is the feature.
Wow.
Think about it from the perspective of a diehard fan. When the concept shifts midway through the rollout, it isn't frustrating. It's a test of your dedication.
Okay, I see that.
It forces the audience to stay hyper-engaged, constantly updating their own internal maps of the lore. The shifting release schedule becomes an extension of the performance art itself.
Medium becomes the message.
Exactly.
If the album is about Bedlam, the release strategy must induce Bedlam.
Totally.
So if the release strategy was designed to keep the fans completely disoriented, does the actual 74 minutes of music that arrived on Halloween 2021 reflect that same disorientation?
Let's look at what actually survived the chaos.
Yeah, let's dissect the sonic landscape here.
The final product is a 17-track collision of sounds. And to build a soundscape this large and chaotic, they relied on a massive army of diverse producers.
Right, the source list, quite a few.
It does. You've got Devereaux, Brian Kuma, Mike P.
There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen already.
And that's not all. You also have Shaggy Thierhead, Mythic Minds, and Street Jacket.
Wow.
And this is crucial because Having a half dozen producers ensures the album never settles into a single, predictable groove.
Keeps the listener on their toes.
Right. You have traditional, eerie carnival organs slamming into heavy, modern trap bass lines, just shifting wildly from track to track.
And it also features singles that were released well into the following year, right?
Yeah, tracks like Wretched, Clown Drippin', Ain't No Time, and Queens.
Okay, and the guest features are just as eclectic as the producers. And they seem like specifically chosen to pull the listener out of their comfort zone.
Oh, for sure.
Like Lainey Chantel is brought in right on the intro, presumably providing the vocal embodiment of that female entity we discussed earlier.
Which makes perfect sense for the lore.
Right, but then you have Vinnie Dombrowski,
Yep.
the front man for the 90s alternative rock band Sponge,
That's a throwback.
and drummer Jason Hartless jumping in on track 10, Heart and Soul.
So random, right?
It is. Why pull a grunge-era rock singer onto a horrorcore hip-hop track?
Because it injects a specific kind of gravelly, raw, rock-oriented emotion that traditional rap production sometimes lacks.
Okay, that makes sense.
By bringing in artists like Dombrowski or Roadside Ghost on the track Ain't No Time, they are really broadening the sonic palette.
The mashup.
Yeah, it perfectly simulates that feeling of walking through a crowded sensory overload carnival where different music is bleeding out from every 10.
Oh, I love that analogy. But the most fascinating parts of this track list, to me, are two highly specific anomalies that almost feel like deliberate traps set for the listener.
Oh, the anomalies are the best part.
Let's talk about them. First, let's look at track 13.
Okay.
Depending on how you consume the music, track 13 suffers from a literal identity crisis.
Yes, it does.
If you stream the album on Spotify or Apple Music, the track is titled Slapnut.
Slapnut.
Yeah. But if you buy the physical CD and read the printed booklet, that exact same song is called The Juxtus.
Which is such a brilliant way to force physical media consumption.
Is it?
I think so. In an era where music is mostly invisible data, they created a meta puzzle that forces fans to compare notes across digital and physical formats.
That is actually really clever.
Yeah.
And then we get to track 17.
Oh, boy.
Something to see.
Yep.
This track features a musical choice that is so unexpected it almost feels like a hallucination.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
The song heavily borrows its melody from the 1980s pop rock hit Something About You by the band Level 42.
Which is insane.
I want you, the person listening to this deep dive right now, to just imagine that cognitive dissonance.
Seriously, picture it.
You are 70 minutes deep into an aggressive, dark, horrorcore rap album, and suddenly you are hit with the bright, synthy melodic structure of an 80s pop ballad.
It's crazy.
It's an absolute auditory jump scare.
And this raises an important question about genre expectations.
Like what?
Well, when a group known for shock rap and extreme aesthetics interpolates a bright 1980s pop melody, it demonstrates a complete willingness to defy whatever box critics have placed them in.
They just refuse to be categorized.
Exactly. It's a rebellious musical choice. So what stands out to you considering these choices? Is it the meta puzzle of shifting track names that forces you to engage with the physical CD?
Or is it the sudden, jarring left turn into 1980s pop music at the climax of a dark, lore-heavy album?
Both of those elements demand active listening.
You definitely can't just leave this album on as background noise while you wash the dishes.
No, not at all. You are constantly trying to figure out the puzzle.
Right. But as complex as the producers, the features, and the musical jump scares are, we really have to look past the surface level.
We do.
We have all these mechanical layers, the Joker's card lore, the fragmented EP seeds, the 80s pop interpolations. But if we strip away the theatrical clown makeup and look past the bloody genre tropes, we find a surprisingly raw, incredibly vulnerable core driving this entire machine.
This is where the narrative of the album truly crystallizes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we examine the critical reception section of our source, specifically an illuminating piece of analysis from the Detroit News, we uncover the actual thematic engine of Yum Yum Bedlam.
What did they say?
It isn't just about horror or shock value. The core themes revolve around temptation, seduction, faith, betrayal, and the struggle of living without regret.
Wow, those are heavy themes.
Very heavy.
And those themes didn't just come from thin air, did they?
No, they didn't.
According to the source, Bruce, who performs as Violent J, he openly stated that Yum Yum Bedlam is an intensely personal album.
Right.
It was heavily inspired by the real-world trials, tribulations, and ultimate heartbreak of his relationship with his ex-girlfriend.
Which completely recontextualizes every chaotic element we've discussed so far.
It really changes everything.
The female Joker card entity, the chaotic release, the blending of harsh rap and emotional rock vocals. It's all a mechanism to process genuine grounded pain.
So what does this all mean?
Good question.
Let me offer you an analogy based on everything we've pulled from this source today.
Let's hear it.
The entire Yum Yum Bedlam album functions as a massive, elaborate, musical Trojan horse.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Insane Clown Posse is using this loud, aggressive, extreme rapping paper. The complex mythology of a female judgment entity, the intense beats, the horrorcore aesthetics,
All of it.
to secretly deliver a deeply personal diary about heartbreak and betrayal.
That is so true.
You think you're buying a ticket to a haunted house, but once the doors lock behind you, you realize you were actually sitting in on a highly intense therapy session about lost love and the devastation of a broken relationship.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we see a hallmark of some of the most enduring art in history.
How so?
Artists constantly use extreme, larger-than-life personas to process incredibly painful, grounded human emotions.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes the only way a person can safely articulate feelings of profound betrayal or a deep crisis of faith is to project those feelings onto a mythological figure.
It gives them a layer of protection.
Exactly. The theatricality, the lore, the characters, the makeup provides a necessary psychological armor. It allows the artist to be radically, dangerously honest about their heartbreak without feeling naked or exposed.
It is entirely counterintuitive, but it makes perfect sense. The louder and more distracting the costume, the more vulnerable the person underneath it is allowed to be.
Spawn.
And the most remarkable part of this entire deep dive is that this incredibly multi-layered, chaotic approach actually worked.
It did work.
This wasn't just an experimental failure released to an empty room.
Not at all.
According to the Billboard charts, Yum Yum Bedlam peaked at number 33 on the U.S. top current album sales chart in 2022.
Number 33.
It had a real, measurable commercial footprint.
It proves that a dedicated audience absolutely exists for art that refuses to be simple, predictable, or easily categorized.
Okay, let's recap the journey we've taken through this source today.
Let's do it.
Yum Yum Bedlam is unequivocally not just a collection of shock rap songs slapped together for Halloween.
No.
It is a meticulously plotted, load-bearing chapter of a decades-long mythological saga.
Spanning back to the 90s.
It was born from a wildly chaotic, ever-shifting release schedule that practically trolled traditional marketing strategies by abandoning title tracks and fracturing into multiple EPs.
Ooh, the weeping weirdo.
Never forget, it is stuffed with musical Easter eggs, from alternating digital and physical track names to 1980s pop interpolations.
To jump scares.
But most importantly, underneath all the bedlam and all the lore, it is anchored by genuine, relatable human heartbreak.
It perfectly balances the grandiose, supernatural mythology of the Dark Carnival with the intimate, grounded reality of personal betrayal.
And for you listening to this right now, I think the major takeaway here is a profound lesson in looking beneath the surface. Whether you are a lifelong fan who has been following the Dark Carnival since the 1990s, or a curious outsider who has never listened to a single horrorcore track in your life, there is immense value in looking past a highly controversial or theatrical exterior.
There really is.
When you take the time to peel back those layers, you often find an appreciation for complex, dedicated world building, and more importantly, a striking personal vulnerability that you never would have expected to find.
You just have to be willing to walk into the maze and let the chaos happen.
Let the bedlam happen.
Exactly. And as we wrap up our analysis today, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over on your own.
Okay.
Considering that Yum Yum Bedlam evolves so dynamically with titles shifting during live streams, track lists being completely upended, and multiple pivoting EP releases surrounding the main project, how might the era of digital streaming and instant internet feedback fundamentally change the way all artists construct rigid concept albums in the future?
Oh, that's a great question.
If the map can be redrawn in real time based on how an audience reacts, are the days of the static, predictable, well-lit museum hallway album over forever?